Hi, welcome to the Commercial Gas Engineer channel. Recently, I've been training to be an electrician at Able Skills, Dartford. This is inside the training centre, just different types of cable and their sizes. And also, we've got some fuses and breakers. So what you do, on the course, you had theory and practical assignments over 4 weeks. And this is for level 2. And this was just week 1. There's another assignment that you have to do, where you connect up to some plug sockets, and this is what you do over the 4-week course. So here's week 1, and then I haven't done week 2 as yet, but I'm planning to. And then here's week 3, and then this is week 4 of level 2. And here's some more assignments you have to do on your board. So we're doing preparation for the final assessment on week 4. Although this was only week 1, but you're just slowly doing your training, preparing you for it, as well as your exams. This is a new tool I got. Well, it's a second-hand tool, but it's a pipe cutter. It does 15mm, 22 and 28. I'm yet to use it as yet. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to use it even within a year. But it's just a quirky tool. Here's a van that I'm driving at the moment. It's a Ford Custom. It's a Ford Transit Custom. It's a beauty. I liked the Volkswagen that I've been in as well, but this is one of the best vans I have had. It's got a little camera at the back. So on that camera, you can see who's behind you, and you can see the camera from inside the vehicle. So here's an example of that. So inside, this is what you can see, a mirror. Got a nice little screen down here. But once you put the key in the engine, you can see behind you in that mirror. This is the radio. The AC is pretty cool. I like the seat heater that you have for your chair. It's an automatic. I was always told by my dad that when you are driving an automatic, keep your left foot to the side and just use your right foot to control the pedals. That saves you getting confused. So this is the side of the vehicle, and this is inside the back of the vehicle. There's a lot of space in there, so much space. It'd be nice if it was racked out, but I like having loads of space in there. Okay, on to this job. I was carrying out some servicing on one of these valents. There's so many boilers in the industry. It's just so many. It's crazy. So I was carrying out servicing on this one and just doing my fags first, seeing what is on site first. So shut off the gas and I was taking off the case. I was just following my service plan. So this is inside the case once I got the door off and was just doing a visual. And some pumps. There's a room sealed boiler. I had to go to the room stat in this building and get it to kick in because there was no demand whatsoever. So I've got the unit to call for heat. Then the pumps came on. Finally kicked in, there's capacitor there hiding. The wiring diagram. Getting the boiler to come on. And then gonna have to get into high and low soon on the installer mode. So we know the boiler works. That was my first test to just ensure that the boiler was working. And then now I'm just carrying out a visual. Okay. For some reason I'm turning this off now. Okay, so you can turn this boiler off. So I know the boiler works. Now I can begin my servicing. Always check that your boiler is working first, because you can get tricked. Okay, I'm just doing a quick recce as well of the expansion vessel. I'm not really here for that. I'm here to service the boiler, but how long does it take to do a quick knock check and to see if there's any air inside the vessel? So this is a 50-litre expansion vessel. I tend to do the rule of thumb calculation rather than getting a calculator out. And if my boiler is 50 kilowatt, I'm expecting my expansion vessel to be there or thereabouts. So I'm carrying out checks on my gas meter, checking the gas pipe. When I used to do a lot of domestic work, I used to be writing out my certificate, because you didn't have much time. Sometimes you only had 15, sometimes you only had, should I say, I'm just going right now through into the installer level, as you can see. It's number 17. But you know, when you're doing domestic servicing, sometimes if you're working for a company, you have to do 10 a day, so sometimes that's only half an hour, 15 minutes to half an hour at best. So you have to really be very productive with your time. Test programs. Check programs. It can be hard to remember all the different ways of getting boilers into high and low. Minimum load, maximum load. So high fire first, as always, and then low fire, and then maximum load. Do remember on boilers to turn the boiler when you're doing servicing, to put the boiler at its maximum, and remember to put all the settings back to how you found it. So here we go, target flow temperature 75. So now the boiler shouldn't lock out too early. Okay, pumps running. Gonna get the boiler back into service mode again. Installer level 17. Okay, test programs, check programs. Then we want P1, select, and then we have our boiler in high fire. So I'm going to get my multimeter pump, I'm going to get my analyzer ready. Get the pump running. Remember to turn the pump off when you're not using it. It's good when you can connect up the gauge to the working pressure at the same time. So you can see what the working pressure is, or sometimes if you're doing burner pressure, so you can just have it all printed out on the same printout. Remember that very important button is making the ink more stronger, more potent, because sometimes it can get quite faint. Okay, gonna put it in low fire soon. It's good to know what that working pressure is in high fire. I've got my gauge attached for that. It's good if you can to do a gas rate and a working pressure test, because they can tell you a similar thing, but they do tell you slightly different things. So do a full gas rate if possible and a working pressure test. These tests were made for a reason. Okay, I'm checking my low, my mid and my high level in the plant room. It's the room stored boiler. So out of that plant room and finishing servicing onto another plant room where we had some boilers overheating. And I was just checking the different things like the pressure sensor and the flow sensor. There's the flow sensor there. This is a Hamworthy. Got a few units in here. And this is the flow sensor I checked. And there's a pump on the unit that had seized. So here's the pump seized on one side. I swapped pumps round. There was a pump on a boiler that was redundant, a boiler that had been isolated, so I took the pump off to swap it over for it to operate on this unit. And in the process I forgot the O-ring, and that caused me some trouble, but thankfully realized. So here's the unit, and I'm checking the flow rate. I also had my gauges. You can see my gauge over here. You could see I had my flow and return temperature sensors on my cane. They're very handy, so you can use those to check if there's any problems. You can see here. And here's my flow and return temperature. And underneath, I'm just looking to see where this non-return valve is in order to inspect it. I won't be taking one of these out again to inspect it. It wasn't straightforward. And here it is. Here's that non-return valve that I wanted to make sure wasn't blocked. This is another job where I went in and it's another, well, this one here is a unit where the boiler was leaking. The heat exchanger was leaking. You can see it. It was leaking quite a lot. So I isolated flow and return on it, but I think later on I went back to inspect it another day and the valves were letting by. The relay wasn't making. You can see it has BR1, BR2. Well, BR2 you could see wasn't making. When it initially started up, the one on the right, you can see the flame is quite orange. Well, I had to make some adjustments on this boiler. There are a few things holding this boiler off, funny enough. What I found, which was quite strange, was that when somebody had worked on it, instead of them isolating it afterwards to say that more work was required, they just left it on. And don't do that. Please practice not to do that. If you're working on something and it's not safe, it's not being fully commissioned, make it quite clear to the person that may come after you to do the work that it's not safe to work on, that certain tests need to be carried out. Because on this, I had the ignition board up here loose, completely loose. I had the sequencer completely not connected up properly, so it wasn't sending a signal. And then also the burner was filthy, needed a wash. So, and then also the gas valve was making a noise and vibrating because the solenoid had been sort of screwed off and not being put back on properly. It was a bag of problems that I had to find, and it would have been nice if somebody had just left a note on there. I had to isolate the boiler on the left in the end because it was leaking, and I was because I was doing work, a lot of extensive work on it. I just decided to cap it off because the heat exchanger was leaking. And then I put a note on it. I made it quite clear that this boiler is not to be used. Make it quite clear to people that the boiler is out of action. Do not leave any doubt in anyone's mind whether it's supposed to be on or off. I'm in another plant room here, and plant room temperatures were quite high, as you can see. I was carrying out on one boiler some checks. So this is the combustion. So this boiler had to be shut down. Can you work out why? I bet you can't work out why. Tell me in the comments below. I'll tell you why. If you have a go at working out what was wrong with this boiler. There's something not right with the combustion readings. Some things look good, but there's something that gave away a problem. So when you do your readings, don't just print them out. Have a good look at them and understand. Okay, and this is another plant room. So before cleaning this, I gave it a check to see the supply fans meters per second of air coming into the room. And then here I am changing the probes, so the ignition I'm changing and the detection on this particular boiler. This was another boiler where it hadn't been shut off properly. I'm starting to get frustrated with this. I'm going to boilers after someone and I'm not getting any sign whether the boiler's been commissioned or not. So make sure you carry out your checks when you come across boilers. Just put your hand around there. This is me making adjustments to the burner pressure, which needed to be 6.8. Then I tweaked it to 6.8, but can you believe it? When I tweaked it up to 6.8, this particular unit stopped firing up well when I increased the gas pressure. So here's one of the units. It hadn't been washed down. It was quite blocked. Here it is, ran a hose underneath it. You can actually see daylight now through there. A lot cleaner. Brushed it down and washed it down. Then gave it a little damp down with a cloth, and then you got to change the gaskets on them. Thankfully I had a service kit. And this is looking inside one of the units. You can see it looks like it needs a good clean. Some of these look like they need wet side and dry side descales. The unit with the fan running. And the unit lighting up. And then this particular unit I had to look into because the burner pressure was fluctuating between 6 and 6.8. Can you see it there? It's just up and down, up and down, up and down. What do you think's causing that? I did consult the manufacturer on this, but tell me what you think is causing the fluctuations in the burner pressure. Good combustion readings, but quite a fluctuation there. Strange one. Okay, this is when the fan module has been removed. And this is a look at it before we remove the burner. Have you worked any of these Ideal Concord Super Series recently? So I have to ensure that the distance is right on these. So here we have it. The manufacturer state how close it should be, 4 to 5 millimeters away. And here I am with my tape measure, making sure that I am there or thereabouts. Okay, inside here looks like a nice blue flame. You can see the ignition there. And then just below it, you should be able to see the flame detection. Can you see? Maybe it's hard to see. I would love to have a little tinier camera to get into some of these places. I think you can see the flame detection there. Looking nice and red. I remember first working on these boilers about 5 years ago and them giving me trouble, really a lot of trouble. From here is where you make adjustments to your pressure, your burner pressure, and there's your detection lead and there's your igniter. But I've had some, I need to make adjustment there to that because it's in the wrong place. So I turn it off. But I've had trouble with these. You can do your differentials from here. You can check your differential. It's supposed to be from there, and there you can attach. I think it's something. You look in the manual, but I think it's meant to be under about 1 millibar. The differential. It's not meant to be above it. I will double check. And here is me making adjustment on another one. I've got 6.2. It's the one on the far right. It's the one on the bottom right. I'm going to tweak up the burner pressure to 6.8. So I think the one on the bottom left, I had 4 modules here. The one on the bottom left started to, it was lighting initially, but then when I made an adjustment to the burner pressure and tweaked it up to 6.8, it stopped lighting well. So I may have to tweak it down a little bit for it to light well, but I've just turned that one off for the time being. This one I'm tweaking up to the 6.8. I think this bottom right one became the best of the 4 boilers in terms of smooth ignition. Yep, 6.8 burner pressure. And at the same time checking the combustion is good. I think the fixed Allen keys were the most, no, not the fixed Allen keys, the fixed spanners were the most helpful tool for me in this service. Without those fixed spanners, it'd be almost impossible to work on this unit, especially if you need to take it out and wash it down. Here we are, 6.8 millibar. Print that off. Here we have another unit with the fan out. Here's a look inside the fan. So do remember on these to check all your modules at the same time. I'm just inspecting another one. And do remember to change your gasket. I found one of these, believe it or not, loose, completely loose and not connected. And the boiler wasn't isolated and so on. And that was very frustrating because you don't need that when you're working on a boiler. And it's because it's hidden at the bottom. You wouldn't expect someone to leave it disconnected. So this unit here, I think, is the bottom left unit, which I was having some trouble with. So I went inside there again to inspect the burner to see, because I washed it down and I thought, well, where's the probe? Are the probes in a bad place? I'm going to go back and inspect this unit another time. But here you can see that I went back to have another look at it. Without these fixed spanners, I mean, you probably could use something else, but they're so tiny and ideal for getting into tight spaces. I can't imagine using, there's probably are other ones. Put in the comments below what you would use down here in this tight situation. With some of these units, if you haven't got the right tools, you are in a world of pain. I want to get some spanners, some other, not spanners, some Nipex wrenches, but more mini ones, especially ones without the teeth. Just sort of, so I need to try and invest in some of those, because some of those tools, yeah, can help you out of a lot of trouble. If you have the wrong tool at times, you can be in a world of pain, and it's better just to not even start. It looks as though I was tightening up on this in order to test it, like I'd finished inspecting it. So I was just trying to probably nip everything up to make sure all was well on the unit. Remember to pop this through here, your ignition lead. can be easy to forget. Your gas valve down there, your ignition board on the left, and your detection lead here. So it's all back together, but I believe this particular unit gave me some trouble in lighting. And these were my readings for all my boilers. I had some good readings. I was happy with them. It's important that you get these cases on properly, because if you don't, it's hard for you to see getting the screw back in the right place, and then because otherwise the case will not, or should I say the indicators won't be easily visible, so you won't be able to see what the situation is. It's annoying that the overheat button is on the left of the case, so once you get the case on, in order to click that overheat button you have to take the case off. I think that was a bad design. This is the 50 kilowatt module of these. This is quite interesting information in the diagnostics. The fault finding, it's very good. Talks about the different boards that need fitting. And look here, is differential air pressure above 1.1 millibar? It says no. And then are 6mm sensing tubes clear? Yes. And so on. So it's very good, very helpful. Speaks of board 28, board 29, board 30. So I'm checking the hot water cylinder temperature. Do you ever use the temperature sensors on the analyzers? They are very helpful. You can see here I'm using this one here. This particular water wasn't getting up to temperature within 60 seconds. I expect it to be 50 Celsius at the outlet within 1 minute. And also at the cylinder, I'm expecting hot water temperatures to be about 60 Celsius at the cylinder for Legionella prevention. And if I'm not getting this, but on this particular unit, there was no secondary return. So I'm making an inquiry into how we can sort that out. Here I was assisting a colleague with some plumbing. So they were using what's the word for this again? Drain rod, I believe it's called. So you use the drill and then you have a rod on it, and then it goes down into the drain, and then you use the drill and then it will clear the blockage for you. So very handy tool. With all my years of being a plumber, since about 2006 or so, around about that time till now, it's the first time I've used one of these tools. So it was interesting. Maybe I haven't gone that deep into drainage. I've done some drainage work, unblocking pipework and so on, but I was assisting some guys on this site, some plumbers, and it was interesting. Okay, I'm trying to get into the habit. I don't know if you do this, but I'm trying to get into the habit more of when I've isolated a valve or when I have done anything, to be honest, that I want someone else to know about, just in case. I don't think it doesn't hurt. If I've done any work, if there's some diagnosis carried out on a boiler, just put a note on the boiler or on the valve to say it's been isolated. So when anything could happen, you can end up leaving a company, or someone else could go there on a call out in the middle of the night, and they're unable to contact you. And then if you leave a little note, at least they're aware. On a particular unit, I found the pump said overheated, and sometimes on these, if you're aware, they can trip the overcurrent. So you see, you have your setting of how many amps the overcurrent is set to, and if the pump draws more than 1 amp, for instance, in this scenario, it will trip. And then you have to look, and then if you see this over here in the wrong place, at the moment it's in the right place, but if you see it in the wrong place, then you know that you need to turn the power off and then hit your reset. So back to those boilers I was telling you about. This is all those Ideal Concord modules with all the boilers running. Good readings. Here's another plant room where I went in and the hot water was off for the summer. So the heating was off for the summer. The hot water boiler was not working. It was an Elco boiler, gas-fired water heater, should I say. So I was having a look at it, and here you can see I'm carrying out just to see a check to see if there's actually gas pressure going into it. Remember with these things, when you come to a call out, I've said in other videos before, you may not have seen them, but try to make yourself comfortable. Like open the doors when you're in a plant room on a call out, and make yourself comfortable and get yourself a seat, sit down and read the manual. Don't get stressed. And if you are getting stressed trying to fix the problem, go outside, have a break, come back in, but don't let it get to you. I tell you what was happening. Basically, the fan was running when I came to it. The power was off, turned the power on to it. Then the fan was running, but the boiler wasn't going to ignite. So straight away, I thought to myself, it's the air pressure switch sensing that the fan's running. The fan sounds okay. Is the fan running strong enough? So I looked at the flue, had a little wiggle of the flue. So I had a look at the air pressure switch, and it looked like it wanted just over 100 pascals in order to activate. So I checked. You can see here my manometer only works in PSI. I converted it, and I was getting 50 to about 120 pascals. You see the symbol there for pascals? So I was getting about 100 to 120. So it was fluctuating. You see, this is actually 50 to about 120 pascals when you convert PSI to pascals. So it was going up. This was just, it was pulsing. It was pulsing like this, going up and down, up and down. And I need to go back and I need to check the capacitor. And I'm going the capacitor, which is connected to the fan. And then possibly it could be the PCB. But I need to go and check to see what's the problem of this particular unit. It's working now, but I want to see what's causing it to behave in a intermittent way. Here I am checking. So here it is, making and breaking. That last video was the unit making and breaking, the air pressure switch. And then this is the record of the hot water. Lo and behold, now we have it hot. Last but not least, I wanted to tell you about an air source heat pump course that I went on. It was a free one. A lot of people I've been speaking to have been running this course down, saying that air source heat pump courses are a waste of time. I went on it. It was 3 days long. I don't know if I would recommend it. The way of the world is heading towards electricity at the moment, and air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, and so on. And so that's why I thought I'd go on this free government course. Yeah, let me know what you think about these courses and anything that you've seen in this video. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, bye bye bye.